It's now 254 days since Israeli forces killed Hind Rajab. While the IDF claim, they maintain that this claim that they weren't in the area, our colleagues at Sky News said it's, quote, undeniable that they were, affirming a string of reporting that we've seen saying as much. The IDF then disputed that report and also said there's no misconduct investigation into that incident. So what's going on here? It's nearly been 9 months of the U.S. saying it's waiting for Israel to investigate itself. At one point, Israel even reportedly lying.
That's not what we said with respect to this particular investigation. With respect to this particular incident, we encouraged the government of Israel to work with parties on the ground that said they had information. The government of Israel said to us, and it said publicly, that none of those parties came and gave them the information that they have said publicly.
Right, and then
it's just a different matter.
Thank you for clarifying. And then the Red Crescent, they claimed that the Israeli forces never reached out to them on the investigation.
Correct.
But all to say, this has been nearly 9 months of this. This case is, of course, just illustrative of tens of thousands of kids killed. So how exactly is the U.S. approaching this if, on this case, 9 months later, Israel is now saying there's no investigation into this incident? And how can the U.S. keep unconditionally sending more weapons if this is how Israel is dealing with investigations of potential violations?
So let's separate a couple of different things. This is, as I said, a little bit of different matter than other investigations into potential violations, which the government of Israel has said that they are conducting. You should go to them for questions about what they may or may not be doing. And with this one, where they've said, and I know the Red Crescent has said something different, we're not in a position to ultimately adjudicate which bit of information is accurate and which is not. I can tell you what we are doing on behalf of the United States government, which is conducting our own assessments of a variety of incidents that raise questions about violations of international humanitarian law, and those assessments are ongoing.
Is this one of them?
I'm not going to speak to individual assessments. I've always made clear that's not something I'm going to do. There are a number of incidents that are under review and continue to be under review.
So this just gets to one, I guess, broader question. The U.S. and yourself have noted that, of course, this is a complicated conflict, but why then has the U.S. response over this year been, in other words, just kind of binary? For example, after the IDF killed 7 World Central Kitchen workers, including an American, there were, of course, calls for investigation, urgings for accountability. The department then said in NSM 20 that it couldn't reach a conclusion of whether U.S. weapons were used in that attack. Result, more weapons have been sent. After the IDF killed American Aisha Egi, there were calls for investigation. No updates. Just yesterday,
investigation that's ongoing.
Right, but yet, just yesterday, Representative Premm Thakker noted that she had sent a letter to the State Department asking for information on what accountability measures are being taken, whether there will be an independent investigation. She hasn't heard back, and this. And
we will write back to her. I'm only intervening because, sometimes when there are four premises getting up to the question, it's kind of hard to remember them all when we get to the ultimate question. So we will respond to the Congresswoman. Of course, we have made clear there needs to be full accountability, if merited, when that investigation concludes, and we'll continue to wait to see the results of the investigation. So let me get to the question, maybe.
Yes. There's Hind Rajab. There's all these hundreds of journalists that have been killed, medical workers, over and over again, despite the conflict being complicated. The question is to send more weapons or not to send more weapons. There's no notion of conditioning weapons on just completing investigations, respecting human rights, let alone stopping illegal settlements or the occupation. Why is that the case?
We continue to make clear that we are committed to the defense of Israel. That is a position that is not going to change. They are a country that are under threat from a terrorist organization in Gaza, Hamas, that we saw what horrible brutality they were willing to inflict on October 7th. And they continue to be under threat from a terrorist organization in the north, Hezbollah, that has launched rockets for a year targeting Israeli civilians. They continue to be under threat by Iran, that has launched ballistic missiles on 2 separate occasions at the State of Israel. So we're going to continue to come to their defense, but at the same time we come to their defense, we're going to continue to insist that they conduct their military operations in a way that minimizes civilian casualties. Go ahead. Oh, I'll come to you next time.
Are there foreign countries sending ongoing assessments in response to the question about Hind Rajab? Can you tell us what are these assessments? Are these under the Churg process that you've mentioned before? There's obviously Leahy. What are we talking about with those?
We have a whole variety of assessments that are underway, but I'm just not going to speak to them publicly.
Okay, and is there any timeline, or these can just go on indefinitely?
We want to get them concluded as soon as possible.
Okay.